Welcome in. Welcome in. How you like the new intro? It's pretty cool, huh? Yep. It's a mess. That's how we are here. We have a good time. It's like I always think about Monday nights. Like Steve and I are sitting on the front porch. People walk by. Some people come up on the porch. Some people sit on steps. Some people just, they brought their own beverages with them and their snacks. We're just hanging out and having a good time. Welcome in, all you wonderful people. If you're new here, I hope the mods and all our wonderful gatekeepers are making you feel welcome. Please welcome in. I don't want to waste too much of your time, but please go out and hit the thumbs up if you can. It helps this channel so much. Thanks to everybody that comments on all the videos. I appreciate it. Sorry I wasn't here last night. It's a crazy day. I'm going to blame everything on the solar flare. Lost everything on my computer. So that's why you got a new intro. Everything's gone. But that's okay. Start over. You don't give up. We're in some kind of wild kind of spiritual warfare, and there's stuff coming at us every which way. So what do you do when something happens? Just push forward. Change what you can. The wisdom to know the difference. Don't make yourself crazy in the middle. Right? Welcome in, Julie and Jack. Hey, Jack, you made it here. RP, thanks for coming in. Uncommon Belief. Lindsay, good to see you, honey. Scott was in here early. Hey, hon. And Tales Untold, welcome. If I miss you, we're going to catch you along the way. I want to bring in my my Monday night buddy here, Mr. Steve Stockton, and I can't remember all the names of all the channels and the wonderful radio show he has. I mean, he's all over. He's on the bookshelf. He's on your radio waves. He's on the inner tubes. And I'll tell you what, you can't make a bad choice when it comes to a channel that Steve is on. You're going to get well informed. You're going to get a professional show, and you're going to get that warm, welcome feeling that you can only get when you're in the company of somebody like Steve Stockton. Come on in here, Steve.
Hey, how you doing? Good to see
you. How you
everybody.
doing, sweetie?
Doing good. And Tales Untold, that's me. That's the rebranded Among the Missing. I moved.
Oh, that's you. Oh, wow. Okay.
All the missing person stuff over on Missing Person Mysteries, and then Tales Untold.
It moves so fast.
Narration channel. So everybody's probably already
Tales Untold.
But if you're not, go subscribe to Tales Untold. Lots coming up over there.
Missing Persons. You've got the radio.
Got everything out there on the Clyde Lewis Ground Zero radio network.
Have you had our guest on your radio show yet?
No, but in fact, I'm recording with him tomorrow night if all goes as planned.
Sounds great.
The radio.
Sounds great. I'm going to send him another invite. I don't see him in the green room here. What do you got going on over there? So just so I don't forget at the end of the show, Steve. On your channels, and also tell a little bit about Lee's channel too.
Yeah, Lee G, First Floor Audio. He's my musical director. He's written 2 albums worth of original material for me, and more on the way. He goes live 3 nights a week. Tuesday is Night Rider, where he creates composition before your very eyes from start to finish. Let's see. Thursday nights is Radio 1FA.
I got it.
And something on that too we're working on, radio1fa.com. We're going to have 365 24/7 streaming internet radio, and it's real licensed streaming internet radio. We're going to be playing the hits, mainly 80s centric, but also stuff from all your favorite decades, plus a lot of Lee's original stuff over there. Go to radio1fa.com right now, and there's a place there where you can put your email in to know when it goes live. We're not going to spam you or anything, but get your name in there.
We don't spam. Some is here. It says hi. They've been on Mysteries for years, honey. There you go. There's your Tales Untold. I think I just heard a pop. I think he's in the green room now. There he is. You give us a thumbs up when you're ready. He's waving. All right. So here's the thing. Mike has been a friend of this podcast for a long time, but beyond that, so many of us always look back and say, hey, I miss, how sightings used to do it. I miss when Unsolved Mysteries used to go in and tell the story, tell the history, get to know what was going on. Right, Steve?
Yeah.
Dig into the town and the people, and not just jump right to the start and assume a lot of things going in, and
I'll
so
give you a
many
little bit
things
of
nowadays
background.
over dramatized and everything else.
Yeah.
Uh, Michael La Chiana is one that goes in and does just what we've been asking for. Goes in and takes his time, and the crew he goes in with has the same intent, the same love of history and the story, and the heart of the whole thing. And I think with that, it really adds so much, don't you, Steve?
Oh yeah, it's not okay. This is what has happened here, but here's why this is happening here
Hmm.
because of all this stuff that did happen here before this happens here now. So it
Yep.
gives you a more rounded idea of the supernatural element and not only what's happening, but why it's happening.
And not embellish things and over dramatize so many things. I
Yeah.
think it was like 4 or 5 shows I was watching. They were putting up, here and there on other different, streaming platforms and stuff. And people in the comments saying, that's so over dramatized. Too many jump scares. Too much of this. Too much of that. What happened to the story? Well, this is one of the gentlemen that absolutely believes the same, just like we do. His name is Michael La Chiana. He is the head of Heritage Hunters, and a little series that I just think an awful lot of, A Journey Through the Past. Let's bring him in here. Mike, get yourself in here, sweetie. How you doing?
Hello.
It's so good to
Hey,
have you.
Mike. Good to see you, buddy.
So the checks are in the mail for both of you.
Raspberries.
Always appreciate all the kind words from
Well,
both
it's
of you.
true.
You're really great friends, and love being on the shows all the time. And I can't wait to be on Steve's show on Wednesday.
Yeah.
Oh, how
Looking
about that?
forward to that.
It's good.
I'm
Now you're
still
going to
out
be
of
on the radio.
getting back from New Orleans,
I
9
know.
days traveling. Oh my God, I'm still trying to catch up. But
You got to be so tired, sweetie. You got to be so tired. But that's the thing with Mike too. He travels. He bebops around a lot. And he goes to a lot of different places. And your love for photography and telling the story and producing things and being creative and the history. And it's just, I think it's like the perfect paranormal storm, isn't it, Steve?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's all so well done.
And
Thank
for
you.
results and everything else and EVPs and communication. We've been doing a lot here, Mike, in the past couple months of just communicating with the other side and, letting them tell their story and, the similarities between. Tell a little bit about Heritage Hunters and what you're doing with the series and any, links you have. I have a couple here, but
Oh yeah,
let me see
please.
if I can share the screen. And if you guys want to share the screen too, just let me know and I'll give you guys so you guys can
Oh,
share
sure.
too. But I've
And,
got your slides, but I wanted to make sure we talked about Heritage Hunters.
oh, sure. Thank you so much. Heritage Hunters, I started when I first moved to North Carolina back in the early 90s. And I was going to a lot of historical places here. Here in North Carolina, all the forts, all the museums, everything is free. So I was in my glory because up in New York where I grew up, everything is you have to pay. So
Uh,
so I love going to these places. And as I was visiting all these places, I started having a lot of paranormal connections with things. And so that's what gave me the idea about the Heritage Hunters. My dream was to go to Mount Vernon and to go to the really big place. Of course, I would love to go to the White House and be able to investigate there, but nobody will ever be able to get in there.
mm,
And so that's always been. I love to go to really historical places and see what's there and how I can connect with the spirits because I know the spirits are still there. Um,
mhm.
couldn't say if George Washington is there, but I know slaves are there. There's many people that are at these locations. So that was always my niche. I love history and I love the paranormal. So to put them together, they go hand in hand. So that's how I started the Heritage Hunter.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Steve, now you have something in common a lot with Mike too. That's the whole photography and you guys are a little more in the tech than I am. Anytime I go with anything, my hands are usually empty unless I have dowsing rods, because I'm like you, Mike. I got to understand something before I use it.
Yeah.
And sometimes you just don't have the time or whatever.
Yeah.
I like to leave that to you guys. Now you do a lot of EVPs and
Oh yeah.
photography as well.
Yeah.
And Steve has been in photography.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
And I want
Like
to say
most
Mike
of my
has some of the most amazing EVPs that you'll ever hear anywhere.
Thank you so much. I have 4 computers filled to the brim where I can't even put any more on. I probably have 35, maybe 4,000 EVPs
Wow.
over the years.
Wow.
You know, now over time they do break
They're all
down.
Class A or better.
Thank you. But the stories that go behind them, and some of the ones I sent tonight have some really great stories behind them on how I captured them and what they actually, what they actually are. So we'll share those later. But I love the audio, and being a musician for years and working in recording studios. So that's kind of where my niche came for the audio and for the paranormal. I love it. When I started catching things on small, inexpensive recorders, I said, I got to upgrade. And so I went to the more high end stuff. And I always tell people, I said, don't waste all your money on junk and toys and all these stupid gadgets that are out there. Put the money into good video cameras, good photography, good audio. Because in the long run, it'll pay to have that kind of equipment. It'll really pay off.
Yeah.
I get really frustrated with these people with all these toys that are out there, and they don't prove anything. They don't give you any really solid evidence. So that's
yeah, and it's what you're comfortable with too, and that's the thing. Steve and I talk about it all the time. It's like you and I have been in the same room, and everybody's got something different. Whether it's cat toys that when you touch them, they start blinking, or a flashlight that is just a little bit, almost completely tightened, but not quite. And if it's reacting in real time, to your question, I mean, if you say blink twice for no, and it goes blink blink.
Yeah.
There's something going on there, just all the different stuff. EMF detectors help you find all these wild Faraday cage, all these, things bouncing off the walls and stuff. And I remember many a time people, I'm getting something, and it's right to a cell phone in like my back pocket. It's like, shut that off. It's just all the little things that tell you just don't jump to conclusions. I think it's great when there's a lot of different equipment there. And I think it's great when you've got sensitives in there too, trying to pick up the same thing, and people that just, kind of let it happen. Don't let it get crazy. Mike was with me in the cellar when I was getting choked at the Hoover house. And that was crazy, right?
Getting choked. And we're like, we couldn't do anything. Like, what can we do? And at the Hoover house, that's right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We gotta get Steve to come to the Hoover house sometime. Oh my God, it's a portal. It is.
Yeah, it's on my bucket list. That's for sure.
Oh yeah.
We all just got to stay there one night. That would be just epic. If we all could just coordinate that and stay there.
But I went and I stayed for 2 nights by myself and had a good time. But when my friend who passed away 12, 13 years ago showed up at the last visit, and they do the table tipping and all that. And I wasn't a big fan of it at first. And I said, so I went upstairs, and I even asked Jim, I said, Jim, is it all right if I go upstairs and just do some work while you guys are down here in the parlor? He's like, oh, sure. Went up there, me and my friend Brandon, and we were doing some work. And about 15 minutes later, Jim comes walking up the stairs. Now, Jim has a hard time walking. He's got a bad leg. And he came all the way up the stairs, and he's like, you have to come downstairs. I'm like, why? He's like, there's somebody here that's calling for you. I'm like, okay. So I didn't want to be disrespectful. Okay. I went down, I sat down at the table, and they started doing the tipping. I said, before we get started, I said, can I put some audio out? Because I said, tipping is great and all this, but to me, I want audio. So they said, oh yeah, sure. So I put my recorder to the side, and we did our thing, and they started describing this guy. They said, he looks like a lumberjack. He's big, he's burly, he's like saying all kinds of rude shit to you. And I'm like, and I'm going, I said, that sounds like my friend Chad. And from that, man, they started describing him, and they just really were nailing it. And I was like, wow, that's cool. So we did our session, and it was over, and it was pretty neat. And then when I listened to the recording, my friend who passed away 12 years ago was on the recorder, and he was 35 years old. We don't know how he died. He had gone to rehab. He had drinking problems. He had other problems. And he came through rehab. He was doing good. And he actually came to Pennsylvania to visit his family. That's where he was from. And he took a nap on the couch one Sunday afternoon, and that was it. Never woke up. So I was telling everybody the story of what happened to him, and that he left behind a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old children. And with that, right at that time as they said that, and everybody's like, "Oh no, terrible!" You hear in the background this guy going, "I'm pissed," and it was my buddy Chad, and so either he was pissed because the way he died, or that I was telling his story, whatever. I didn't care, but we caught him, and it was definitely him. And so, and he had passed away 12 years. He had never been to the Hoover House, so that place is a portal, definitely a portal.
It is. And I just, since you're saying that again, Steve and I just got done doing a couple of episodes on Keel. He's talking about windows. He kept it's so weird the way he would say it in his interviews to Steve. He would kind of lean and go, "Well, there are windows in Point Pleasant, West Virginia, And
Yeah.
I'm thinking, okay, well, that's just another way. I'm assuming that he means portals, and whatever we name things. And I think that's one of the things in the paranormal. I was thinking, just to myself, doing whatever. Thinking that's one of the reasons I think we can't all connect, because everything has a different name. Everything refers to Bigfoot in a different way. Everything, like Mothman, is seen all around the world, but they described differently or given a different name. If we could just get together and realize all this stuff is connected, you know what I mean? But as far as the portals, at the Hoover, it's now, for those who don't know, we're talking about the Hoover House is in Waynesboro, Pennsylvania. It's owned by a wonderful group of people. Jim Wyrick and, Steve and Pam Barry are another, and Jen and Bob, relatives of Jim's, and, just wonderful. Keystone State Paranormal is involved. And it's a wonderful area. But here it is again, like I said in the beginning, the intent, the person, why they're doing it. A lot of times it's very unselfish. It's not just, I want this and I'm doing this for this, or I want this for money, or I want this for fame, or I want to be the best in blah, 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 whatever it may be. Your intent, and that goes back, Steve, to what we're talking about. We're talking about Leslie Flint and the group there that was getting such good results because the spirits kept coming in and said, it's your intent. It's the people in the circle. It's, they were honed almost. They were, I don't want to say, kind of molded like clay, to be here for this moment. And that's why they're getting such good results. And I think Hoover House is kind of like that, and has created this portal, whether there was something there, ley lines or whatever, I have no clue. But the portal there is kind of shielded by the spirit guides of that place that don't allow too much negative through. Every once in a while something will slip through and you got to back it off. But
have you ever seen paintings? Because in the basement was a speakeasy back in the 20s and 30s, and so there's a lot of activity down there. Did you ever see the photo that Pam had captured?
Yes.
Of the coming out of the concrete floor. This dude is like this, Steve, and he's like this, and he looks like a genie on the bottom with like smoke for legs.
Oh my gosh, it does, yeah. It does, yeah. It's a shadow figure, full on, darker than dark, and just smoky around the edges, just like you said, like a genie in a bottle, exactly. And not far from where we were sitting, Mike, in that cellar. So again, Hoover House is in Pennsylvania. It's amazing. And it's a very old 1912, same year as the Titanic it was built.
Oh, yeah.
And we're in this same cellar. Go ahead, sweetie.
Yeah, I interviewed her, and so she told me exactly the way I love how she investigates, because she'll sit there amongst everybody and everybody's doing the thing, and Pam is so cool, and she's like, I just take 3 shots. She goes, boom, boom, boom. She goes, I look at him and then I delete him. And I'm like, cool. I said, that's something that, so she's reviewing it right there. And then she 3 shots, boom, boom, boom. And all of a sudden she's like, oh my God, what the hell is that? And she caught this thing coming up out of the basement floor. And so I interviewed her, filmed her, and that photo and her interview is going to be on the Gettysburg episode of mine. So love to share things like that when other people catch things. It's not just all about what I capture. It's what all of us capture. And I love when people will share. And so, wait till you see, when you see this photo, you're going to freak out. You're going to go, that's something out of Hollywood. There's no way that's real.
It's real.
Can't wait.
Yeah.
Can't wait,
and they've done everything down there, Steve, like laying out shots, and trying to talk that way. The one that when Mike was sitting, you were like 10 feet away from me, maybe, when all that happened, when I was getting choked. This is the cool part about it, though. Everybody, that sounds so scary, and it is, but when you're in that room, when you're together with the people we were down there with like Jim and both my sons were down there, and it was just a reaction to Jim giving kind of a protection kind of prayer and putting it out there. It wasn't anything. I know it sounds like it was very violent, but it really wasn't. She was just showing me what she felt. And I knew that going in. It's like, this is what happened the last time I trusted somebody. Because he was saying something about, you can trust us, you can trust us.
Like,
but if you remember,
John or whoever was killing these, the prostitutes that worked there,
Mm-hmm.
And I think we even got a name. His name was Jack, and that's what I was picking up on. And when I would say the name Jack, all of a sudden the meters would go off and stuff. So didn't get an EVP, but did get a few really good EVP. I got a lady singing upstairs in the second bedroom on the second floor, and she was saying, "You're using me." She was singing, "You're using me."
Oh yeah, yeah. Wow.
So maybe she was thinking that we were using, with the paranormal. But who knows?
Yeah, if it was a prostitute, see, we just never know, because you try not to fall into the same stuff of, okay, well, I know someone died in that bedroom at such and such a time of a heart attack found on the floor. I mean, and that's true about several of the bedrooms there. But you don't want to just assume that what you're getting is that person. If you see you see what I mean. So, and if you don't do that and you just let them kind of slowly back, because the one that I believe was the one that tried to show me that, they were calling her Allie, but she didn't like that, and it annoyed her, and because her name was Allison. So it's easy to, but she was trying to say in the alley. She got choked in the alley. So do you see how easy and so simple that could be mixed
and if you didn't know the history of the place, then it was just, her name's Allie. Right. And that's as far as it would have went. Oh
yeah. I never assume anything with the EVPs I get, unless they're saying, I'm George Washington, which that never happened. I just have, I just am happy that I'm capturing what I capture, and it's a gift, and it takes a lot of work and energy for them to do that. So I appreciate that. I always say, if I do an investigation somewhere and I'm there all night and I get one really good EVP, I'm very happy. So that's just how I am. But then there's other times we go places, we'll get 30, 40 EVPs in one night, which is like crazy, but we get them. So it depends on the location.
I think it depends on the location. It depends on the person. I think
it's the person.
Perfect
like
storm
you talked
thing.
about when you first started recording, you had the big reel-to-reel deck that you hauled around with you.
Yeah.
And I think you could do it with a Fisher-Price cassette recorder, and you would still get EVPs. I think it's you. You're the lightning rod.
Yeah, I think it's vibrations. I believe it's intense.
True.
And that's why, I'm down to where I don't investigate with a lot of people anymore, because when I used to have 5 or 6 people, it'd be just too much. I would get really wound up, and it would disturb me to the point where I knew it was affecting how I work. So now, if I work with just one other person, that's how I do it. If I do take a team somewhere, everybody has to spread out in far distances, and I'll only work with one person or myself. And I love working.
I think that's important. It's important because you know what the other person is doing. You don't have to worry about 8, 7, 10 people. And again, I can see where that would be beneficial in a certain way. But there might be something. I always like the ones. There's a few shows that send in teams. Let that team go in for a night. We'll be out here watching and doing whatever, and then they switch off. I like that a lot too, because what if a combination is working? So much of this depends on energy, their energy, what they want to let you know, what they don't. Because again, for every one EVP or one, something you might get, there might be 30 other ghosts on that property that don't want anything to do with you, and they're just staying quiet and staying away and laughing about you behind your back. Sometimes you pick that stuff up. But Jay had something good here I wanted to touch on. He said, agreed, we need more universal language and terms for the paranormal world. That's what I was mentioning before, because just look what's happened to the word poltergeist in 20 years. Poltergeist 20 years ago meant something completely different than what people are saying it means now. In my observation, are you guys seeing that too? Where it's kind of changed?
Well, so much has changed now compared to what we came up with.
Yeah.
I don't even try and keep up with these younger teams and stuff because it's nonsense to me.
It's frustrating. Yeah. And it can be very frustrating. So when you have somebody describe and say, I can see absolutely taking that point. But looking back, looking at some of these shows and everything else, where now the little quarter expert that comes up at the bottom, and not saying, look, I know some of those guys, and so does Mike and Steve. But the thing is every new show has paranormal expert under it, and when somebody like that says, all poltergeists are this, that, or the other thing, then everybody, hears that's watching this show, and then they go off. It just keeps skewing everything. Do you see what I mean? It's like when Jim Mars said, "Son of a gun, I'm sure it's going to be a great show that Stephen King is putting out about 11/22/63." But now everybody's just going to think Oswald did it by himself again. It's frustrating. It's frustrating. I don't know how to get out of that.
Well, I think even our community, the paranormal community, goes through every 20 years. There's something going on. Right now, it's an ego thing, and it's so sad because everybody and like you said, all these shows, it's all about ego. It's all about them, and there are some really good younger folks out there that are doing their own thing, and I like that, and I like that they're original and they're not trying to be like any other teams out there. But the ones that are all copying each other, it's silly, and I don't support them. I don't watch them. But there are very creative people of all ages. I feel that a lot of these younger kids have had all kinds of experiences growing up as well, and you can tell just by listening to these certain folks if they're really genuine, they really got the passion. It's got nothing to do with age, So,
that's true.
I
saw a good pair, and I think it's Paranormal Quest. I don't want to, say the wrong thing, but I was watching it. I was just enthralled because here they are. They had a lot of really neat equipment that I hadn't seen before. And it was, like microphones that picked up a certain, certain wavelength and frequencies and stuff that normally we wouldn't, like stuff that we wouldn't normally pick up. Just different things like that. And watching how they set it out and watching how they spoke, very respectful. And, well, we thank you very much. They had the knowledge behind them to know that this takes a lot of energy. They had the equipment, but they weren't coming at it like, like they thought they were rock stars, if you know what I'm saying. Yeah, you know what I mean? That whole mentality. They really were in there investigating, and I found myself drawn into, what they were saying and how they were doing it. They even did that thing where, and honestly, I don't want to do this because it just cuts off too many of my senses, but I forget what you call it, where they blindfold and they have the headphones on, and then somebody's in another room asking the questions.
That's Steve's method. Yeah, they call it too, but originally when it first came out, it was a way of testing psychic ability. That's what they had came out with it for. And so they would use white noise. They put headphones on. You'd hear white noise. You'd have a blindfold on, and then like we'd be down the hallway and we'd ask questions, and they couldn't hear our questions. And then we had a recorder going, and we wanted to see if we would capture. And if they heard something in the white noise, they would call it out. So we would see if it would connect, and it was 50-50, but it just depends on what you really. But like I said, it was originally designed to test psychic's ability. ST's method. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And what do you think of that, Steve? Have you seen that?
Yeah, it's fascinating stuff.
Yeah. But I want proof. Whenever I go somewhere, I want the best proof possible for the time I'm there. That's my job to do that, to get in there and get evidence that I can share with other people. That's and of course I can have personal experience. That's great too. But my number one thing is getting really good audio, getting video, getting any kind of photos. Audio always shows up easiest, but I don't want to waste time with meters and gadgets and things like that because
there's a lot of setup. There's a lot of setup.
And when a meter goes off, to me, it doesn't mean anything. That's not proof of anything. When a flashlight goes, and people use these flashlights all the time. I've been carrying a mag light on my hip for 40 years as a plumber. And me now, if you have a push button where you put it down, they push the button, they turn it on. That's amazing. But
That's
nobody
amazing.
you don't ever see that happen. It's very rare. Undoing that thing so the contact is just barely touching. That's not evidence.
That could be something completely different. Yeah. And I think everybody's got their thing too, where it just hits them and you believe that moment where you go, oh, wow. Okay. I, like you said earlier, I saw it with you at the table, and I often watch people that come in if they're doing table tipping or whatever. And, we always try to overemphasize that we don't have our feet are usually tucked like under the chair, instead of like under, where you can flip it with your toe or, I can't even imagine people pulling stuff off like that. But, they did for decades, with all these people with the ectoplasm and the trumpets floating and the ventriloquist stuff and everything else. The stuff can be done. So we try very hard to tuck, and the people look under the table and watch it. And then the table, you weren't there the night the table got up and kind of walked, were you? That was not, oh man, that was something. I was part of that. And, you just look and I'm laughing because it was just so neat. It was just so neat. There's a certain point where you just get past where, this is really happening. And I'd love for everybody to have that, because there's so many times where we're the kid in the bed and you're looking and it's dark and the pile of clothes on your chair really, really, really looks like somebody sitting in that chair. You're convinced to the point where you're frozen. You don't want to move because did it move? Did it move? It moved. I know it moved. And you don't want to move. And how many people have fallen asleep like that? And you don't know how you did it. And how many times have we heard, Steve, on this show, well, I saw it and I fell asleep. Yeah. There's also some kind of a mind thing or manipulation or something like that that can happen in some instances. I do believe that. And I'm not talking about the hag syndrome and all that. I'm talking about something beyond that. Again, there's another label that kind of puts everything confines everything. And I think we just need to knock that down and understand it's all, not all ghosts react the same way. Not all ghosts are going to talk to you. Not all ghosts were on the property. Some came with you. Same came with you. There's all these different levels, like Steve and I say with the paranormal. And those are, you're asking with my hand, Mother's Day week as a floral designer. I cannot tell you. I have overextended my thumbs. So yeah, I'm in the old lady, the winter green mint and all of that stuff, man. I'm telling you, Mother's Day. I'm glad, there's flowers everywhere for moms, and I think it's wonderful. But after, your third or fourth 10, 12 hour day standing there doing that, you get like, okay, that's enough, mom, but that's what it is. I'm fine. Yeah. But that's the neat thing about it. And, everybody, I think, also has their, not just their, wow, I believe this is something moment, different levels, but they also have their comfort zones. And we talked about yours in the beginning, how you've gotten to where you've settled, and it's a lot of the history. Jim is the same way. So many people over there, in Gettysburg, and of course we're surrounded by the history, and it just absorbs into your skin. And I love how you've brought so much of that back. Now tell a little bit about how you started the journey through the past. And did you send me any trailers for that, or is there one I can go to? Do you have a little?
Yeah, I sent you the video of the new.
Let me go back while you're telling it. I'm going to go back and look for that.
Tom Dooley opener.
I got the Tom Dooley. I got. I think they're EVPs though. They look like.
I sent you EVPs and I sent you the video clip of the opener.
All right. Let me go back and find that one. I'm sorry. Yesterday, something my computer completely wiped out. I mean, wiped out. Wow. So I lost everything. I had to start again here.
So the way I started journeying through the past is, I have all this evidence. I have all this stuff on computers. There's no place nowadays to share our evidence. I don't put stuff on Facebook. You have people out there, and everybody's an expert and this and that. Over the years, I've found people through Facebook that, like you guys, that are genuine, that are passionate, that have experience. And those are the people that I always lean towards. because I'm the same way.
The ones that are quietly working away at it and not trying to draw attention to themselves.
Right, and that's I mean, I'll do a case where I'm working on the case 5 years. People don't do that anymore. Well, I do. This Tom Dooley one we started in 2013, and I've been back to the jail several times to investigate, and it just takes years. So I had all this evidence, and I wanted to share it, and I said, I saw that Prime was a good place, and that you could actually create stuff and get it loaded onto there. And so that's when I decided several years ago to try and do Prime TV. And they're very strict on who they'll let on there, and you have to have certain qualifications, and your photos have to be a certain size, and all this. So that's what I like about it. And so that's when I decided to do the series. And I wanted to create the series for investigators. It's not for the public. If the public likes it, that's great. I could care less about the public, because the public is so tainted by all the crappy shows that are out there.
That it's out there.
I have no interest in those fans that like Zach and all these other people. I could care less about him. He's a con artist. I will say what I'll say about him. He's the only one I know that's making multiple millions per year, and that's why he's doing it. And you could be humble about it. He's not humble about it. He's creepy. And but people love him, so whatever.
It's the jump scares. It's the all the different stuff. Steve and I did a deep dive on a big case that some popular people went in and did, and treated them like basically ruined a career, a long-time relationship, and everything else, just by lying and for just kind of throwing this stuff like it's no big deal. All right, that person's lying. They did this and this. They never tested anything. They never they never researched anything behind it. They just came to a conclusion. They said it on, I don't know if it was live TV, but it was national, and there it went. And this person learned about it by watching the show when everybody else saw it. And I mean, can you imagine the kick? That's like getting kicked in the gut by a horse.
Well, it was a big show that was on, I guess, in the last year or so. And it was different locations, and they had to be somewhere for 28 days or 28 hours or something. And they all did different locations. And the one that they did here in North Carolina, which was a very famous story, they had all the facts wrong. They were telling stories of the case, of the family. None of it was true. Half of it was lies. And the production company could care less. They just made up stuff. They didn't care. And then they made the paranormal look like fools, because they had to play. They signed contracts to be on these shows, and then they had to kind of agree with what the production companies were saying, and it was not true. So then, one whole thing with the paranormal is supposed to be about truth and good evidence, and it wasn't. And so, but it's just typical of these shows. So it's that's why I like to work with people that are not going out of their way. They do their work, they spend years at it, they really know how to research, and then they'll share it with certain folks. And they're not looking to put it out with these big shows, because they know that it'll just get branded as crap and fakery and stuff. So yeah, we have a nice little niche of people that are really good out there.
Oh yeah, and I love that, because
worldwide, yeah. So
yeah, and that's the whole thing I love about this show, because I started this years ago, and Steve did also, and reaching out, and the chain of paranormal help and supernatural help that's out there, metaphysical. What do you need? Where are you at? And we'll send some people, but look, you got to get through my filters first. If I think that you're just doing this for whatever, you got to get through mine first. And those are pretty rigid. And, then I'm going to send you to the people. And if they're my friends of mine, they're going to do the same. And you're going to fill out the questionnaire. Because here's the thing. These people are taking off from their work. They're taking their holidays, their sick days. They're doing whatever, especially if there's kids involved.
Yeah.
And driving, gas, cost, whatever. Who's to say how long they're going to be there or whatever, because you have an issue and they know how to help you. And, you have to be serious. And I'll tell you, stop all these things. If you don't do the 3 things that I put out there, or, whatever, you're not going to get past this point. And I'm not going to bother my people with it. If I call, they're going to know there's something. you know. And and people have to understand how serious it is, because the way they portray it on TV, it's like, oh well, you know, we had this and we came here and we did these things. Listen, real, you know, people with so much heart, not to say that anybody on shows aren't real, because that's not true. There is plenty of great people on shows, you know, and peppered through the decades, trust me. But the ones that get popular and have these over dramatized things and all this other stuff just for the jump scare, the person sitting in the chair talking, you know, the ones where they have the camera halfway up their nose and they got like a close up on their cheek and one tooth, that, what is that? If that doesn't show you how invasive this is, and here's this person telling about the absolute nightmare they lived through, you know, that their kids went through, that, you know, they had to leave their home, and, you know, people forget the real impact it has on a life and a death. Because on the other end of it, here's this person, human being, as Hans Holzer put it, just in need of help. And they don't have, what state of mind are they in, you know? And if you can, man, I'm telling you, it's nothing, it's not a game, you know? And then on top of that, you have the history. And can we not just get the history right? Nothing bugs me more. If I go through at a podcast and I'm trying to get like information or research on, like, say, Lizzie Borden or something, in the first 5 minutes, I get, you know, 3 factoids that are absolute made up. They're, you know, not facts at all. And I know they got it from, I'll know what interview, what book they got it from, and when it started, because that's when it started rolling. Somebody grabbed that and pulled it this way, like Paranormal Taffy and all those different directions. It's ridiculous. I love how you go back to the heart, you know. So tell us a little bit about Tom Dooley. I found it and I can play it if you want me to play it and then tell about it, or do you want to tell about it a little first?
I'll give a little feed, you know.
Okay.
Tom Dooley is a very famous folklore story here in North Carolina. 1860, it was the first lovers triangle murder mystery. It made national headlines from New York to California, and it was about a young man, 22 years old, Tom Dooley, that lived up in the foothills of North Carolina, and he grew up in an area, you know, you tiny little communities, and so everybody knows each other that lives in that area. And so he started getting involved with this girl, Ann Milton, when he was in his teens, and they kind of were dating and this and that. They were started fooling around when they're early teens. And of course, you know, over the years that continued. But then she also had cousins. So Tom was a real ladies' man, and so he started fooling around with the other cousin, Laura Foster, and then another cousin, Pearline Foster, because it was all a very small community, and that was very common back in the day. Well, Pearline had come to the area. She was originally from the mountain area further north of them, and she, during the Civil War, she had contracted syphilis. And so she came to their area to work with her cousins on her farm to raise money to get treatment for the syphilis, which was, I think, they were using penicillin. That was the number one thing that they used. But she didn't tell anybody. She didn't tell anybody about what she had. And so she got involved with Tom. All the cousins were involved with him. And of course, eventually the syphilis spread between all of them. Ann Milton Foster was married to an older man. And of course, he wound up getting it too. So from that, that created a lot of problems.
What was the name of this town? Sodom and Gomorrah? What was it?
It's actually Ferguson, North Carolina, which is right near Wilkesboro. And but this was very common. This was not anything. You know, you slept with who was in your area. You know, you couldn't travel far. You didn't have cars or anything. So, so he got engaged to Laura. Anne was married to this Mr. Milton, but she was a very jealous woman, and he started fooling around with the other cousin and supposedly got engaged to her, and they were going to run away and get married. And so she did run away. She's going to meet him. And the next thing you knew, she went missing. And several days later, they found her in a shallow grave. She was murdered. And so from that, they assumed that Tom had done it, or Anne. So they put them both in jail for like 6 months because you didn't get a local trial you had to wait for the judge to come to the area to do a trial. So they were in jail for a long time, but very interesting. So we investigated the jail where Tom was. We did ask who killed Laura Foster, and we did get a response on who killed her. So we actually have a mail telling us the name of who killed her. I won't say, I'll leave it for the show, but very interesting. And yeah, it's a great, and people remember the story from the Kingston Trio, 1959. They put out the song "Hang Down Your Head, Tom Dooley," and people just assumed that it was a folktale and wasn't real, but it was a real story, and it's a very, very twisted story. I don't hear her; she's cut out.
There we go.
There you go.
Jay was saying John D. Long Lake. Is that familiar to you?
No.
South Carolina.
Nope.
Oh, that's where Susan Smith, drowned her kids. I remember that story. It's terrible. Gosh,
Oh
dang,
yeah, I remember that case. That was in the 80s and 90s. Yeah.
I think
Okay.
so. Well, can we watch this trailer? Is that good for you?
Sure.
Let's
Sure.
watch it. So this is, it's exciting. I love this. And again, Amazon Prime. You can find it. The Journey Through the Past there. And where is this going to be on there as well? Is this like the second? Another episode? Or?
Out. And this is the opener for Tom Dooley, and you'll be able to see that. And then I'm almost done with it. I'm putting the rest of it together and editing. It takes me a while, but I'm not in any hurry. I want to do it right. So
sounds good. All right, let's hear it.
Back in the 1860s, Tom Dooley lived up in the North Carolina mountains in the area of Ferguson and Wilkesboro. He was truly in love with Ann Milton Foster, but he also got involved with her cousin, Laura Foster. And eventually, Laura was found murdered on the side of a road out in the country. And over the years, many have suspected that Ann may have had something to do with the murder of Laura Foster. We came in and investigated, and we've captured some interesting findings from the questions we've asked the spirits that still remain there. Did Ann Milton Foster kill Laura Foster? We may have an answer to that on this episode. So come along and see what we found as we journey through the past. What really lies between light and shadow? Hear the echoes of glory. Turn back the hands of time. Visit beautiful relics. Witness the unseen. Voices from beyond. As we journey through the past.
Wow, that looks great.
Wow.
thank you.
Wait a second. I think I lost it. Hang on.
Yeah, there's a little more of it.
Wait a minute. There's more. Wait a minute. Let me stop it. I'm going to go back and fix it.
And all that music is created by my friends that are professional musicians. They did all the
That's
music.
wonderful. I don't know why I cut that there like that. That's terrible. Let me fix it. Sorry, guys. Hang on. Back in your seats.
More popcorn.
Okay, I think I got it again. Hang on, I'll find it. It was right about here. Wow, it was good. Oh, wait. Wrong one. Darn it. Darn it. Hold on. It's playing, but I don't have the right. All right. Let me get it back here. All right, guys. I'm pushing buttons. All right. I think this is the one.
There you go.
Yes. Stick with it.
Hang down your head, Tom Dooley. Hang down your head and cry. Hang down your head, Tom Dooley. Oh boy, you're bound to die. Little one, can't you find my love? She ain't been home, you've seen her, I hope. Can't you find my love? Little one, oh little one, can you find my love? She ain't been home, you've seen her, I hope. Can't you find my love?
This beautiful footage makes me miss Alabama, man.
That's where she was killed, right there. Right
Beautiful.
there.
Can you find my love? She ain't been home, you've seen her, I hope. Can't you find my love?
This is Bill Horton Road, and this is the road that Laura Foster was traveling on by horseback to meet her demise. And this creek over here is called the Gladdy Forks Creek. And just up the road here, that's where Laura was killed. She was stabbed and she was dragged through the creek. And then eventually they buried her body up here in this mountainside, and that's where they found her body. And we wanted to come out here today. There, it's back.
That's it.
That's even more impressive. I liked it when we hadn't even seen all of it, and that's just incredible. And the music is just out of this world.
Thank you. Oh yeah, the music is amazing. Good friends of mine that really went out of their way to make original music for it.
Absolutely beautiful.
Laura Reed is an international artist, and she was covering. I met her at a show one time, and she told me she was putting out the song called Tom Dooley, and I said, "Well, I'm doing a show about that." She goes, "We should collaborate, and you can use my music for the show." And this was 3 or 4 years ago, and so yeah, so she's the one that did all the music for Tom Dooley in the show.
That's just beautiful. Everybody was loving it. Oh yeah. Oh, thanks for bringing it on. Absolutely. Sorry, I messed it up.
Yeah.
Now you had also some. Let's see if I get this one right. You have some EVPs.
Oh yeah, from different locations.
Let me see if we can pull that up. And okay. I don't know what's best if I download these or let me see here. That's what I'm getting there. Hold on. It might be better to download them and pull them in that way. Let me try that.
Yeah, there's some different ones in there from different locations. Some are from really old investigations that have a good backstory to them.
That's the opener. Okay, this is them. The first one I have is HRMV Voice House. Does that mean?
So this is the Henry River Mill Village. We investigated it back in 2020. This is the location where they filmed the Hunger Games. And so the village is here it's a mill village, and we're in North Carolina, and we were able to rent it for the night. And so I brought in 12 investigators, and it has about 30 or 40 homes and the company store that were part of the movie. And I wanted to cover the entire village in one night with different investigators. So, and it was great. So everybody had their section of the village to investigate, and nobody was in each other's audio or anything. So this is in one of the houses that me and another investigator were in. I think it's the name. We asked who was there, and the man gave his first and last name.
Let me see if it will let me do it that way. Okay, got her downloaded. Steve, what do you think here? What's the best way to roll this?
If you go down there where it says present,
Mm-hmm.
and then click on video file, and if you've got it downloaded locally there, you hit that, and then it puts in a
It's
little
not
frame down there that you can
Not
put on
showing
screen.
in the videos. Let me see.
Your mileage may vary.
It's going to be audio. That can be video.
Yeah. Not seeing it there. Let me see if I can get it this way.
Yeah, I don't know if
Talk amongst yourselves. Start a sing along or something. Hold on. Google
Let's sing it
Drive.
down, Julie. Come on.
Well, I can see it. I just can't get the darn thing to play. Let's see if I can do it this way.
There you go. You've got it.
Maybe I can do it this way.
Yeah,
Can you guys see it from where you are?
Yeah, you
Yeah.
should just be able to click on it. It will play. You just click right on it. Yeah.
No, it's asking me to open it with something.
Okay. Yeah, open it with whatever you know.
Okay. Can you hear it? Okay.
Yeah, you may have to kick it up the volume.
All right. Let me see. Okay. It's kicked up all the way. Let me see here.
There you go.
Can you guys hear that? Can you guys hear that or no? Do you want to try playing it from your end? If you guys can't hear it. I hear it pretty good. I don't know if you guys can hear it. Jack said he can't hear it. Gently down the street. Start the thing. Okay, let me see if I can get this louder. Okay, come on.
Yeah, it's very clear. You just have to get the volume up a little bit.
Right.
And it's so rare to get a first and last name. You know, I've gotten several over the years, but it's very rare.
I can hear something, but it's really low. When I turn it up on my end, I'm getting the static. Let's see. It's up as loud. It'll go here. Now, what was that one?
He's saying his name. We were in one of the homes, and he's actually saying his name is Buddy Walton. So if you play it, maybe people. I normally put in a loop of 3.
Okay. See if I can, if it's popping up in any other spot here. I know you're saying audio file. I'm looking in my.
there's another way in StreamYard if you go over to the brand tab and
Okay. Ooh, and try it there.
upload it as like your music that you play.
Okay, let me try that. See if I can find if it'll pick it up that way. Now you did one on also an episode on a town, but the very first one you did, it was a little town. I can remember it was like a ghost town or something. I forget where the
Henry Riverville Village.
Yeah. Oh, wait, nope, wait, let's see. Yep. It says house by the river. Okay, let's try that. That might be the winner there, kiddo. On this one, I can turn the volume up this way. Cross your fingers. Everybody cross your eyes and your fingers and your legs and your toes.
There it is.
Buddy Walton.
I'm leaning in. Oh, I heard it.
Yeah, heard it that time.
You guys hear that?
And the problem was the river that fed the entire Mill Village was not fun. And the river, even though we were in the village, was so loud.
Oh yeah, I can hear the river. Yeah,
You could hear the river. And it was,
I got it that time. Let's play it one more time. Did you guys hear it?
It was very clear, yeah.
I can't see the chat. I can see it on my phone though. Are you guys able to hear that? Scott, can you tell me? Kat, you in there? You can't? Yeah, Bobby.
Try it again.
All right, let me do it again. All right, I'm going to turn it all the way up on my end now that it's like not really the white noise, it's the river. Right there, right there. Right there. Heard it. Buddy Walton, I heard it.
Yeah.
Buddy Walton, wow. Hey, this
Yeah.
this works good, Steve. Let me see if I can do it again. This ought to be fun. Okay. Do this one. Okay, now this one's going to be Poe. All right, let's see if I can do it that way.
Edgar Allan Poe's museum in Richmond, Virginia.
Okay. Go back here and here. Add music. Oh, this might work. Okay. Okay, that one's loading. It's asking me to take some off. Okay. Take that one off too. Okay, now give it to me. Is anybody else having computer problems over the past 24, 48 hours? I'll tell you what. What a mess. What a mess I woke up to. It was awful. Okay, it loaded. All right, now, any setup for this? You said it's in the Poe. Where was it, honey?
This was in Richmond, Virginia, and I was
Okay.
I went to the Edgar Allan Poe Museum that's in Richmond. I was traveling through, and I actually went into. There's multiple buildings there. I went into the building where his childhood bed was, and I was standing right by his bed, and I had asked, who was there with me, and it's very interesting what he says. Let's see if you can hear it.
I was putting up here in the chat of everybody that said that they could hear it. And you know how funny it was at first, just like me, they thought it was the river was white noise, like when it's the river, it makes perfect sense. Yep. Hear the river. I hear something. It's not clear. You could almost hear that cadence, Now, was there a connection to somebody named Buddy Walton?
I got a list of all the people that lived there over the years and worked with them, because the Mill Village was designed. They built all these homes for the workers, and they had their own money currency. You would take when you get paid, you would go up to the company store. So you didn't get paid in real cash, and you got paid in their little coins. And so I researched all that I could and never came up with a Buddy Walton. So I don't know.
Maybe he came with you, or maybe he came just later on.
Well,
Again,
it goes down the 70s, and so then there were people living in the homes, and then the owner, there was drugs and prostitution and gambling going on, and this older man bought the property just so he could stop all that, and that's when the Hunger Games came in and asked if they could film the movie there. So if you ever watch the opening of the Hunger Games, the first scenes where all the old buildings are, that was at the Henry River Mill Village.
How about that?
Yeah.
You heard it here, folks. You heard it here. All right, so here we go. This one is Poe on Poe. That one almost sounds like Poe, I'm Furious.
No, he's saying, Poe, I'm Heritage. Because I went in and I said, I'm Mike with the Heritage Hunters. And he's saying, Poe, he might have been making fun of me.
Right.
But he said, Poe, I'm Heritage. So,
Maybe I can
yeah.
find it. Yeah, let me hear it again. You picking up that one, Steve?
Yep.
Yep. Wow, you know, some of them are so clear. That's amazing. You guys
And
hear
these
that
are
one?
distant. Yeah,
Oh,
it almost sounds like
that
it's
sound like
outside.
Poe on security. Heard that clear. Yeah.
But when I heard Heritage, I was like, wow, he's copying what I said. You know?
What you said, knowing that you said that right before. Yeah, that
Yeah.
makes perfect sense. And you know, yeah, the Raven, nevermore, nevermore. You know what's weird too? It's when you realize that they're hearing you.
Okay.
You know, you're walking in there. I often wonder, like that whole like the movies The Others, and even as it turned out, The Sixth Sense turned out, like, or do the ghosts think that we're ghosts, or the ghosts, you know, what are they seeing? Like you said to me that time with the famous elevator in Gettysburg College, Steve. It's like, what did the surgeon that looked up, what did he see? Did he see
He
angels
probably
on the
thought they're
field?
angels. He saw the wall open up and there was
Wow.
odd looking people in there. So
I've been in that elevator. I actually, we took the elevator down to the basement to see if we could see anything, and the elevator froze and it wouldn't work, and we were stuck in the elevator.
What?
And the girl I was with, the investigator, she was claustrophobic, so she started like freaking out. And so I just started hitting the button a bunch of times, and finally the door opened. I was like, oh my god. So,
Oh wow.
I didn't witness anything, but it was still funny that the elevator malfunctioned.
You know, I've talked to Mark Nesbitt and his lovely wife too about that. So many, you know, when you think about it, now it's the housing for all the electricity. Well, look at all the energy that could be pulled from it, because it would take so much for him to. We often have the conversation about, is it just that guy manifesting all of that? Is it a gathering? Is it a time slip? Seems to be so many things in that one story that could be possible, all going on at the same time. It's just really quite an amazing story. Yeah. Because he obviously, it's not just a residual of something being played back, because that one guy has real time intelligence, reacting and, you know, almost speaking, mouthing words or whatever, or maybe sending out telepathic. Maybe the people are hearing it too, and that not realizing, you know, that they're not just he's not just mouthing it, he's sending some kind of a telepathic message of help me. And you know, it's
well, I think
so
once we lose our body, when we shed our bodies, the energy is so much more easy to tie into the energy of what's around us, versus our bodies. Maybe our bodies are like filters, and it traps a lot of things and traps our energy within.
Yeah.
So once you're not in your body anymore, I do believe that it's more of an electrical grid type thing with the universe. You know, I do believe that.
Yeah, yeah, and you know, you think about that. I mean, it's just, I'm looking into. I have been like 2 weeks now. As soon as I dropped Mothman, I picked up Philadelphia Experiment. Boy, you want to talk about energy and time, space, and the things that, you know, the survivors could tell you that happened on the inside of that. And, you know, at the time they thought it was, you know, electricity arcing, but it turned out to be something else. And just, you know, trying to learn about all that, it's really incredible. And the story about the two guys that jumped off and wound up in a whole different, you know, area and stuff. It's crazy. The stuff Tesla was into, you know, trying to really dig into what really happened to him and how much of it was a smear campaign. And you know what I mean? He was more such a benevolent inventor. He didn't want to hurt anybody.
That's my hero in history is Tesla. I despise Edison. I think he was ruthless, evil, and you know, he was all about the fame, and he stole so much of Tesla's, you know.
Right. I probably, like talking about what we went through earlier. It's harder and harder to research now. It's almost just like in the paranormal, there's almost too much evidence out there, and you have to really dig to find the real stuff. Some people don't even bother because it is so contaminated, let's say. But also, is the research and the information. And going back again, like I said, the same thing. It happens to me every time when I start to do true crime. I try to go all the way back. What are the first reports? A half hour from the time, an hour, a day, a week, a year, trying to get close to the facts before they got all polluted with all the lies and the and the exaggerations and the plain out just changing things. I think in the Mothman story, there's like 5 different stories out there what the guys were wearing that were seen crawling underneath the bridge, and it matters. It matters because I can't see Men in Black or feds or anything like that going under there dressed like they're saying now. Whereas if you go back to Keel's first reports with the reporter that was on the ground, they were wearing something very like you would have picked for that town in that time, even to the point of not the weather, just what would kind of blend in, but it wasn't local, because if it was, they would have been dressed better for the weather, if that makes sense. So it definitely makes sense that it could have been feds going, just go to the local True Value and grab the checkered jacket and the penny loafers and crawl around in, like, what was it, 20-degree weather, whatever it was, and penny loafers and no socks. That makes sense to me, because they would do something like that. And it tells you a little bit about who was doing it, rather than men in 3-piece men in black suits with sunglasses and hats crawling under there, because that didn't happen. The other one is more true. So it's really hard to dig in the facts. And
I think with that, and even with Sasquatch, Bigfoot,
all of it,
it's so hard because there's so much on the internet now. So you really can't find good research.
So true.
You're finding things that are, in the last 25, 30 years, and it's still tainted. It's so makes it. You may never find the answers to these.
That's true. Luckily,
that's why I love the ghost so much, because I'm dealing with them one-on-one. I'm getting answers from them, and it makes it much more satisfying.
It is so cool.
The paranormal in that area, versus
it's so cool, because, and again, that's what Mark Nesbitt was saying when he started getting into the paranormal crime scene investigation.
Right.
And so good. And to be having that conversation with, or try whatever that conversation may look like that you might be having with, whether you're going through a medium or you're doing whatever it may be, and you're getting that communication between yourself and the ghost who's actually the victim. And then he's sitting there, he got pretty far in an investigation, and they were getting them to speak a little bit more on it, because again, this is very traumatic for the ghosts. They're reliving it. Sometimes that's why I think that one girl came through and showed me, this is what I felt. This is the last thing I felt before I died. It's the first and foremost thing on their mind. Like Fred, when he came through the trance medium, and the first thing he blurted out was he didn't do it. Don't blame him. It was the car that ran him over. They weren't doing what they were supposed to do. He was a careful man, and people blamed him. Oh, he walked out in front of a car. That was enough to make him stay and be a ghost, because he was mad people were lying about him. It depends on the personality and what's important to them. But it's, for those victims to come through and they're getting a little bit of the facts of the, and it's matching the evidence, or it says, no, they got that wrong, it's this, and that makes even more sense. And then all of a sudden they got to stop, because they're talking about the killer, they're connecting into the killer's energy, and the killer is showing up. Here he comes, we have to go. And that's energy. And I think that's why they say don't speak ill of the dead. What do you think, Steve?
Yeah, they can hear you, and they don't like it.
Yeah, we got a lot of stories.
I think one of the last shows I was on with you guys, I was telling you about the suicide cases I was dealing with, and that came to fruition. I got about 7 recordings from the husband that had killed himself in the home, and I actually walked around with the family, the children and the wife, and we just walked the house. And it was about a month after he had killed himself, and I got several EVPs from him, and it was the saddest thing I've ever done, as far as, and this is somebody I knew. He was a client of mine, and we still can't figure out why he did it. Now, May 18th is the anniversary of it coming up again, and the wife's doing okay. She took the plantation, and she's making it into a suite, for meditation and different things.
Oh wow.
And stuff like that. So she's doing something really good with the property. But still, it's that anniversary comes around. It's still, this was
It's
a
rough.
healthy guy and a young guy, and had good amount of money. Didn't have money problems, things like that. So still very haunting that that he just did that. Just insane.
And I'm sure that he's wrestling with it too. The back and forth.
I don't know. One of the, we actually went right to his office where he did it upstairs in the bonus room, and there was a bullet hole in the door where he sat at the desk, and the bullet hole was right in the door, and we said, well, why did you do it? I said, why did you do it? And he said, I had to go. That was it. And he was just matter of fact about it. He had no remorse for what he did, and when the children asked him questions, he wouldn't answer anything about, to them with me.
It's just too hard, I guess, huh?
Yeah, but on his end, I really got mad at him because I was like, this guy had no remorse for what he did, and it's just sad. So I guess I feel that it was something with him all through his life, like growing up, and then his parents got divorced, and so I just think, and he was in the financial business. So I don't know. I really don't know.
Man, it's hard to say. And, and I think that's why, because we understand that, I think that's why the shows that come on and just treat this like it's all surface level, booze and scares and all this other stuff and just make stuff up. I think that's why it irritates us so much. Facts matter to us and the truth matters because you can't learn from a lie,
Right.
All you can learn from a lie is not to do it.
He did get long COVID. He had COVID. He was really afraid of even taking the shots. He didn't want to do them. And the new company he went to work for, they were doing federal cases, and it required that you had to have the COVID shot. And he didn't want to take it, and he took it. And then he got COVID. Then he got long COVID. So we're thinking, and we did
just
a lot
really
of
messed with him.
We found that a lot of famous, not famous, but successful businessmen that own farms and surgeons and different people that got long COVID wound up killing themselves. So for no reason whatsoever. And they had
must be something in the, it must have some kind of control. Look, that's not
just psychological and effective. Don't know.
It's not far out of the realm, my friend. With all the military stuff and everything else going on, and not only that, but what we were talking about earlier in the EMFs and everything else, everything has an effect on the frequency. That's why I tell you guys it's so important to learn how you can just really quick ground back, get yourself grounded down, because even like the breathing techniques and stuff that we learned last week about the breathing in on 4 and letting out 8, and and doing that for 3 minutes and resetting your brain. Because your natural stuff is the only fight against all this other mess. It's true. It's true. Go ahead, honey.
Yeah.
Steve, did you want to say something? I'm going to play this next one. This next one is Wilkes, Cleveland.
So this is
roll that beautiful beam footage.
Okay.
This is coming from the Wilkesboro jail where Tom Dooley was.
All right. Here we go. Is it saying kill me? Killing?
Yeah, I was upstairs in the jail, and I was getting my recorder. We were breaking up the pack up. We were finished, and I went to get my recorder. And just before I picked the recorder, I always keep my recorder on little tripods. That way, I'm not physically touching the recorders. That way, I can just grab the legs. And so I was just going to grab it, and I felt the breeze go by my face, and that's why it sounds like kind of windy. And you hear this thing saying, "Kill me." So, and they might have said, "They killed me," or "Please kill me." To me,
one of those.
Yeah, but listen again.
Did you guys hear that? I'm going to play it again for you. I think you did. Okay. Do it one more time. Man, I heard it straight up. Man, that's just, I'm getting a real sad energy off of that. How about you, Steve?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
There's a forlornness, a melancholy there.
Yeah.
There's a real, that one's got it just hits you right in the center. You know what I'm talking about, that heaviness. And on
what's,
that one's got that energy. Go ahead.
and what's interesting on that is I always use dual recorder, so it has dual microphones.
Okay.
And you listen through your earbuds, it starts on, you hear it go by me, so it goes, kill me. You can hear it cross through
Move.
the
Move.
Yeah, from left to right when you're listening through your earbuds. So it's like it was moving as it came by me. So it was interesting. I wasn't moving. I was standing by the recorder. So you actually hear it in the EVP moving. So.
Yeah, and it's almost like I said, it's a very heavy. Right away, I start thinking about the person that's dead that's saying "kill me." It's obviously caught in the death state of not even realizing what's going on, just wanting it to
It could have
end.
been one of the prisoners, at the jail.
Yeah, yeah.
It was a very small jail. It only had 2 cells. It had a very small men's cell and a very small women's cell. It was very small. And they were there from early 1800s to 1856. So, no, it was actually from 1856 to the 1970s, and then they finally closed it down. So a lot of people had been in this tiny little log cabin jail, for years. So somebody wanted to get killed.
Right. Yeah, that one just kind of, like I said, that one kind of hit me hard. Okay, let's try this one. Sorry about it. Hit the mic. Trying to see this one. No, I don't want to leave there. Okay. I'll get it, folks.
This one should be the Lake Lure Inn.
Okay, we did the first 2 say, I've got 2 that say the jail. We just did the one. Do you have a way of telling the difference here? Because the last 2 are marked jail. This one says, okay, this one, we haven't heard this one. I can see it.
Does it say Roosevelt Hall?
I think you're going to be able to tell here. Okay. Sorry, I got to go through all this stuff to get it up here, but it's working. Okay, here we go. You could be able to tell. Are you hearing that, guys? I hear it pretty clear. You hearing that, Steve?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What are you hearing?
Yeah.
You hearing Get Out?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. A lot of energy behind
With an emphasis on the out.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. Let's see. You guys hear that?
The jail is so small. When we would investigate, I'd only put one person in the jail, and we would go next door to the other building. That way, everybody had their own turn to be in the jail by themselves. And so I put my friend Carolyn, who's a really good investigator, in there by herself. And as soon as I left, that recording was like within a minute of her being in there. So maybe they were trying to protect her, or they didn't like her. And she's a pretty young girl and nice person. And it almost sounds like it's a woman, because there are claims of a female spirit there that are very mean.
Yeah.
So it's hard to say if that's a woman or not, but it would make sense for her to say to get out.
Okay, this one's kind of got a long one. It begins with safe. Let's see this one.
Yeah, this is also in the jail.
Okay.
This is in the men's cell.
Okay. All right, here we go, guys. Wow. What are you getting, Steve? What's a thunk? Is that?
That's probably me. I'm in the cell by myself. I'm in the jail by myself, and I'm up in the men's cell. And I said something about, I'm here not to hurt you. I'm just here as a friend to get any messages that you have. And it says sounds safe to me. Like I'm safe, like.
Sounds safe to me. Okay, Here we go. I'm going to play it again, guys.
safe to me.
I'm definitely hearing something. I'm getting a safe something. How about you, Steve?
Yeah, I can hear the safe part real clear.
Yeah, it's not the clearest, but like I said, when you
Okay.
listen to earbuds, you hear it so much, you know. Or
Right,
headphones.
right. Oh, I can. Yeah. Okay, that was it on that roll. Did you send more in another one, or did I get them covered?
I think you asked me to
That
send
was the
3 to
one.
5.
Yeah, that's beautiful, man.
Yeah.
Absolutely
We had,
beautiful.
we had one from the Lake Lorraine, which I don't know if I sent it to you or not. Those are some pictures that I took.
I like this. Tell me about this. You just went
Yeah.
somewhere. Where did you go?
We were coming back from New Orleans, and we were getting into South Carolina, and we stopped to get something to eat. And right across the street, we saw this beautiful property with this abandoned building there. And so we Googled it, and we found out it was called the Sally Rose Plantation, and they're actually tearing it down. That's a shot from across the street that I took, and they're tearing it down and put a shopping center there, of course.
Oh, jeez.
So, but it was back in the heyday. It was a really nice place, and a lot of the rich would go there and then have different events.
Look at that.
Yeah, sad to see things like that.
It is. It absolutely is. I wonder how long it sat, man.
That's the original picture. That's from the 1940s. So.
Oh, geez. Can you imagine how long it must have sat to look like this? And it's almost impossible to save it.
Able to stand so strong all those years now.
Wow. Are these shots from your trip?
Yes, that's Canal Street.
Well, look at that. Ain't that something? And I'm so glad they came back after Katrina was so horrible. It doesn't seem like that long ago, but I was in Alabama when that hit. It was awful. It was really. I can't believe they were even able to save these buildings. You know. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
We had a lot of fun. We went to the festival, the Jazz Fest, which that was an entire week festival, and they had thousands and thousands. I think in the 2 weeks here's one of the pictures with the Rolling Stones, and there was over 460,000 people in the 2 weeks. So it was, you couldn't even get up by the stage. It was so packed. But, we had a good time, but that took up a lot of our time. I tried to find some haunted locations.
You got some great pics.
Yeah, isn't that great?
Yeah.
But it was very hard to. I went to a few haunted locations, but you know they're all private residents, and unless you went on the cheesy tours, which I don't really do. I don't do the ghost tours because it's just an hour and a half of walking around and hearing stories.
You must have had a hell of a lens going on here, kiddo. Look.
Yeah, that was I stole that from somebody.
Yeah.
I was way in the back, trust me.
And there's Hart.
Yeah, they played the week before.
There you are.
Down Bourbon Street.
Down Bourbon.
Cinco de Mayo. It was empty in the earlier in the day.
I can't believe
Neil Young.
Oh my God, he played so good. He sounded just like he did 30 years ago, you know?
Did he really?
Oh, he sounded so good. He really did. And,
wow.
And then he was actually playing on that Tuesday in Georgia. So we're heading home, and we actually got tickets, and we went to see him in Georgia as well, which was was a nice little amphitheater. So we were able to really see him better. And that's Canal Street. Beautiful homes.
Yeah, I love all the work.
I went to the Andrew Jackson house, Andrew Jackson Hotel, which they said was one of the most haunted. I walked in, and there was a little guy in the back. He came out, and he wasn't very friendly. And I didn't say anything about paranormal. I just asked about rates and about the history. And he was trying to brush me off so fast and get me out of that little lobby. But if I was to go back, I would stay there. I would definitely stay there.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of history to it. Used to be a boarding school for boys, and caught fire, and boys died. And when you stay there, you hear children running up and down the hallways and things like that. So,
oh man,
if I did go back, I would fly. I wouldn't drive. 14 hours to get there.
Oh my, my.
Yeah, so I would fly. It's only 2 hours from North Carolina. So
I wanted to share this too. If you want to get a hold of Mike, this is his Facebook here. And you can catch it there. The Heritage Hunters Journey Through the Past. And I always liked how close it was to my name. We smiled the first time we met each other. He said, "Wait a minute, what?" It's so much fun. But I did want to say we have a friend, and I won't say his last name, but could use your prayers, and that's something we do often here on the show. So if you guys could just muscle up all your good healing energy and all that good stuff that you throw out here, and we're going to put out a moment of just prayer and good thoughts for Billy tonight. He's one of us. He is a great heart and a really good guy. So just take a moment, put him in your thoughts, folks, and let's send healing energy to Billy tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
You know what he needs. Thank you, guys. I appreciate that. He's a really good guy. So if you have any questions, I'm sorry, go ahead.
He's in my first episode, so if you watch it, you'll see Billy.
Yep.
He's the one that caught that amazing video of the woman floating in front of us with the thermal video. So he's really
That's
great.
nice. That's nice. And again, you can catch that on Amazon Prime, correct? Just look for. Now, are they looking up Heritage Hunters or Journey Through the Past? What's the best way to get in touch?
Journey Through the Past is probably the best way.
Yeah, and get in there and see that, and put a good comment in there, and let's support independence like this, because again, this is something that we often talk about on the show, about going back and getting back to the heart of the paranormal and the supernatural and the wonder of it all and the history. And like Mike said, coming in here and having the ghosts tell you about the history, so many of my favorite EVPs too, again, Mark Nesbitt or somebody like that, going in and getting, in Gettysburg and asking them who, instead of going at it in a way of, all these impertinent questions, where he would say, okay, who's the president at your time, at this time? Trying to get into their head and understanding who you're talking to a little bit. And I think that's what you do too, Mike. And he's got one where it came out and it said Jefferson Davis. And so he knew right then about who he was talking to, without hitting him with so many different things. Because if you think about what mindset they're in, Steve, who are you talking to? You don't know who you're talking to or what mindset they're in, let alone what they think of you. And you coming in there. So I think that's a great way to approach it. And I think that's why you get so many different things too. When you went in and did Hoover House, you stayed there. You were pretty much the only one in the house for a while, weren't you?
Yeah. I had the entire house to myself. Yeah. And it's funny. I had visited when you guys were there that night. And then I stayed there before. I went the October before, and I stayed for 2 days. And, it was so cool to have the entire house. Pam and Steve were gone for the day. Jim wasn't there. And they're just like, have the house to yourself. So I hit all the rooms and different things. It's a really great place. But I do feel that when there's more people in the house, there's more activity. I was there quietly. I didn't get a lot. So I think that they like to have people around. And that's I think that's the case in any.
And I think they get ready for that too. I think they get ready for that just like we do. Like if you talk to Jim and Dave and Steve or whatever, and they'll all say that they're getting like 3 or 4 days before somebody's going to stay at the house. Spirits will start to arrive that want to talk to that person. So they'll start getting, well, we're here for such and such. I'm her grandma. She doesn't know I'm, but I know she's coming. And it's so wild.
I don't know. I don't think it was the night that you were. I think we were there one night, and just a few of us in the basement. Me, Pam, Jim, and another fella, and we were coming up the stairs, and Steve was upstairs by the kitchen. And as we got to the top of the steps, I heard a girl screaming. And I was like, "What the hell is Steve doing? Is he like, joking around?" And he opened the door, and I still, in the distance, heard the girl's voice. And I'm like, "Oh wow, it's not him." And I said, "Did you hear that?" He's like, and he didn't hear a damn thing, and he was right there in the hallway. I said, "You didn't hear the girl screaming?" He's like, "No." I'm like, "Oh my God." And like at the top of her lungs. And just as we got to the top of the basement steps, I was like, "Wow, this place is crazy."
Yeah. And I think it's
right in the middle of town, right on Main Street, in Waynesboro, and a very historical little town. And I like that it's away from Gettysburg. It's about 30 minutes away from Gettysburg. So you have a different change of venue, versus
Right.
being in downtown Gettysburg. So
Right.
yeah,
And then if you go straight, you go right into Harper's Valley.
right,
And if you go off a little bit more, you go to Antietam. And then,
right.
it's so much there. There's so much there. And,
Yeah.
Like we said, there's different places. And I think about 10, 20 years ago, I started seeing a lot of these places popping up because, again, the bad gets so emphasized. If it bleeds, it leads. If it's really extra scary, whatever, paranormal survivor, whatever. But you don't hear a lot about the really good stuff. That was, like we had like Unsolved Mysteries for that might have it, like the ring that popped up out of nowhere, or the woman that was reincarnated and met her, her grandkids or whatever, came back around. All these different stories that had so much heart to them. But are these places that have this light, like almost like it was claimed for the light side, or like the Stand, some people went to LA and some people went to the cornfield. It's kind of like that. But I think Hoover's one of those places that it's just been picked for that, for that spot, and all those spirits to come through. And you're not the only one that I saw that came through where I said, it's not going to be, there's nothing. This is, a little, and then all of a sudden, bam, you just get hit with this thing that you can't discount it. Nobody knows it. It's not on your Facebook. It's not in your email, whatever. Your mind goes through all the things and you just go, something just happened here,
Well, it's like the David Stewart farm, which is, outside of Gettysburg. It's about 15 minutes outside, closer to Zach's Bridge. Most investigators don't go there. It is one of the most active places. It was a field hospital at one time, a 100-acre farm. The woman Stephanie had you ever been to the David Stewart farm, Sysco?
I've
No?
never, not to my knowledge. No, I've been to the one where they have the trails. I can't remember that one, but we went there and I was in the basement there with, I think it was, I know it was Mike Simpson and Jim and Dave. Dave was leaving the basement when I was going in because they said, I'm not supposed to be here. They're throwing me out. And I remember my son was behind me. He goes, wait a minute, all these guys are leaving and we're going down in there. I'm like, yeah, let's go. So I'm supposed to be here.
Well, the David Stewart you have to go to because the home itself was a field hospital. And you could stay. There's only 2 bedrooms upstairs.
Thank you, Ted.
Stephanie is great. When you go there, she's like, the door's always unlocked. Just, if you're here late at night, just lock it. I go to bed at 8 o'clock at night, and we had the whole place to ourselves. And that's where, up in that second floor bedroom, was supposedly an operating room. And so we're in there, and I looked into the room. I was in the hallway, and I saw these 2 energies zoom by with my eyes. I'm like, oh, wow, I got to go in there. I took a picture. I actually caught it with my camera. And then so I started walking in there. I had the audio running. And I walked in. You can hear my boots on the wooden floor. And all of a sudden you hear two spirits talking to me. And the one spirit says, somebody's coming in the room. And the next thing he says, don't mess with us. Don't mess with us. The recording went on for about 30 to 40 seconds, one of my longest recordings. And the 2 spirits were going back and forth talking about me. It proved they couldn't see me. They were terrified, and they heard my boots coming in the room. And so they said, don't mess with me. And then the other guy said to him, what's the plan now? And you heard his voice fade out. And it was the most incredible EVP I ever got. And they definitely couldn't see me. They heard me. So that proves to me sometimes they can't see us and we can't see them. And but one of the best recordings that I've ever got there. So crazy.
That's pretty wild because that reminds me of a Peter Underwood video. Peter Underwood was the president of the UK Paranormal Society for decades. And he put out so much material. One of the things he did was ghost watch, and he used to do a little recording. So it would be like a radio spot he would come on and do. And he would tell the story and, of evidence he found in past investigations or whatever. And one of them was the story of he went into a house with another investigator. And again, think about the equipment that they had in the 40s early 50s. He was all the way active into the 70s, so I'm not really sure what decade this was. He had a camera on a tripod, but it wasn't an automatic where it would do anything if anybody was there. It was set up for the morning investigation, but he did leave a recorder, and the recorder picked up it's looking, and a female voice, it's looking, and the male voice, like obviously a little further away. It's wild how you can tell the positioning.
Yeah.
And he said it's looking at us. I mean, full sentences. It's looking at us.
Yeah.
So again, this is a vantage point of what they're seeing, how they're perceiving stuff. You know, what do you mean? What's this camera? A camera? What is this? It's looking.
yeah.
It's looking at us. It's crazy.
Oh yeah,
Love it.
One of the first cases I did in my area here, 6 minutes from my home years ago, back in like 2005. Somebody found us through an ad that one of the groups put in like Craigslist or something. And I was invited to go to this house. The house was only 2 years old, so it was built on farmland. And the folks that were living there was a young couple, and they were moving out. They had a U-Haul there, and they were throwing everything they had in the U-Haul. They had been renting the house, and they were having all kinds of activity. And so we got there, and they said, look, we're moving out. We're throwing everything in the thing. Once we get everything out, we're leaving. We just want you to keep whatever's here. And we're like, oh, this is bullshit. This is like they're trying to break their lease or something. So they got in the U-Haul. They were terrified, and they got the hell out. And they said, look, whatever you find, we don't want to know. We don't want to hear nothing about what you found. And they left. So we had the entire 2-year-old house to ourselves for the whole night. And so we set up, and that's where I actually caught 2 women telling me their first and last name, which was really amazing. And
Wow.
then later in the night, the young girl that lived there, she kept saying that some young guy was saying rude stuff to her when she would get out of the shower to get dressed in the morning. And this guy was saying stuff to her, and she was hearing it, and she was freaking out. And so I said, I'm going to go sit up there in the closet where her closet was into the bedroom. And I just sat there quietly. There was nobody upstairs but me. And I got this recording, and it was really speeded up. And I know you've heard some EVPs that are really fast. So I heard this thing saying, and I was like, what the hell? So I slowed it down.
Slow it down, yeah.
I slowed it down. It was a woman saying, is he taking a picture of me? And I was sitting there, and you could hear me snap the shot. And after I snapped the shot, I got the EVP, and she's saying, is he taking a picture of me? Crystal clear.
That's incredible.
And I was like, holy crap. I said, wow. And it sounded like a woman. And I was like, maybe he's pretending to be a woman. Maybe, I don't know, maybe it's a woman talking to her. But it was crazy. And I still have this thing. So.
Yeah. And you don't know. And that's the whole thing. It's like, we still, even though we've got evidence, we're asking questions because we don't know. That's what throws me off with a lot of people. They come in and they'll say, hey, I think one of the biggest, and I don't even want to call them battles anymore because I don't do it with people, because I figure if you're in that mindset, I can't really help you there, and I don't have the time in a chat or something else to explain. Yeah, you can't. So they'll say something along the lines of, this house is brand new, so it can't be anything here. And I'm like, I can't go back to that square one. If you're willing to listen, I can tell you that has nothing to do with it, because it could be you or it could be whatever. And the other one is like a place like Villisca Axberger House, where you go in, where people have gone in so much and placed their own energy and their own thoughts and their own minds, their own manifestations into a place where, they're asking, kick the ball, move the ball if you're here, or, talking to the kids like they know it's the kids. You're in so many different ways. You're taking energy and almost creating something, which they've done in Lizzie Borden as well. It's like, so many mediums have told me Lizzie Borden's not here. She crossed a long time ago. She's gone. There's parts of her energy and her suffering and her emotions left. Right. And then all this stuff that people constantly keep putting on things.
She didn't live in that house for years. I mean, she bought another house in that town, and that's where she lived. I think she lived with her sister till she died. So she wasn't in that Borden house at all for the last 20, 30 years. So,
But when you have so many people going in, it's almost like the Philip experiment. Steve and I talk about this one all the time. It's almost like you're creating a tulpa. It's like you're creating an energy. You've got all this energy bouncing around and doing the things. And, spirits are trying to go and do whatever they're doing. And then some people are there with a Ouija board trying to call them back in. Who's the killer? And so many people say, I have the killer, the Villisca Axe Murder House on recording. It says, it's me. I did it. Who are you talking to?
it could be anybody saying that.
It could be anybody. It could be some, low life, earthbound spirit just walking by, has no idea what's going on. And they're either you get their attention with all this energy and stuff going on over here, and they're like, okay, I'll talk into your little box. What do you need? Because I'm drawing energy off your fear. So what do you want to hear?
Really.
Yeah. It's kind of like answering a payphone on the street. When back in the 70s, you'd go by and the phone would ring, and it would be the creepiest thing ever. You'd want to, you want to pick it up and see who's there. What do think about it. You don't know who it is, and I think that's important to know that and to you focus on that, because there's so many shows making so much off of one little thing or nothing at all, really, and making a whole big story about it.
Well,
and that's not what investigation is it?
They make things out of nothing, and
out of nothing.
There's no evidence on these shows, and you watch Ghost Adventures and all these other ones. They really have very little evidence. And
so true.
Just, it's sad.
Some of the strongest. I got to tell you though, Mike. Over the decades, some of the strongest evidence has ever come out of some of these things from the people that we talk to, and the people that we know, and have known for years. The biggest, strongest evidence is when they come to people like us for help, because they've dipped a little bit too far, and they've provoked a little too much, and they played the game and found out it's not a game. It's got a lot of really serious things attached to it. And that's when, and then the jerks go right back and do it again. It's crazy. It's crazy. I just don't understand. Ted, thank you so much. Ted threw up a good super chat here, and we certainly appreciate it. Thank you so much. Every bit of that goes into StreamYard to keep this show on. Thanks, everybody. And listen, before we get out of here, I want to go around the gauntlet. Please, again, Mike, tell us where to find your stuff. We want to support you so much. And, please run it through again. Mods, throw up the links, please, for Mike's stuff. Go ahead, sweetie.
The Heritage Hunters Journey Through the Past is on Prime TV, so you can watch it there. My new episode's coming out shortly. Tom Dooley. My first one was The Country Squire Inn, which probably has the most evidence I've ever captured in a location. So watch that. All my episodes will have a lot of evidence. That's what everybody wants to see, and unfortunately, a lot of shows don't have a lot of evidence. So to me, what's the point if you're trying to watch a paranormal show? I love to hear the history, but I want to hear evidence as well of what's there. So please check it out if you like. And I love that everybody watches it and supports it. And thank you both for always having me on, being so kind to me. I really appreciate it.
It's an absolute pleasure, guys. So there it is right there. Heritage Hunters Journey Through the Past. Please get in here and see it. Give it a thumbs up. Leave a good honest review, and let people know that this is definitely where we need to get back to. We need to get back to the heart of the paranormal, and we need to get back to the respect of how amazing this whole thing is, because believe me, we're in spiritual big battle right now. So you got to know where the light and the roots come in. And I'll tell you, with all the ghosts walking around and talking and things that are happening, you got to know that there's so much more going on. It's like we say, right, Steve, it's the last great frontier is the other side. And,
Sure is.
And I think we can learn a lot from what happens to these ghosts getting in trouble and the things that hold them back, the fear that holds them back, the earthly tethers, with all this stuff. Look, we got to be nicer to each other now and be nicer to yourself and understand that words have power, thoughts have power, and what you manifest have power. If that wasn't true, the little train that talked himself into going up that hill, I think I can. What would happen to him if he said, I can't do it? I can't do it. I can't do it. The opposite is true, So if there's an evil, there must be a good. And if there's a good, there's got to be an evil. Where are you sitting in there? Right? Where are you sitting? I love you, Mike. It's been great having you on here.
Really appreciate it. And Steve,
it's wonderful.
Yep,
He's
yep.
he's a globetrotter, Steve. We need to hook on
Yeah,
to.
I
We
know.
need to get a hold of his. Maybe we could be his entourage or something. He's going all these
Hey,
great
yeah,
places,
there you
see all
go.
these
Oh,
wonderful
come with
things.
me. I'd be so honored to have you guys come along on anything.
We
No,
got to
I-
get together. We got to
Picking-
do it. We got to make it happen. Manifest positive.
Picking these great locations is very important versus going to paranormal tourist places. I don't do that. So
Mhm.
I always want to go somewhere that's very interesting and different. So
Yeah.
anytime. You guys are welcome anytime.
Absolutely,
Sounds
absolutely.
great.
Maybe we can do that. We'll go around and maybe go out there and spend some time at the Hoover House, spend a weekend there, and then maybe we could trips over to Point Pleasant, West Virginia, and get our picture taken with the Mothman statue. That'd be
Go out
fun.
and see Steve somewhere. Steve, where are you now? Are you in Florida? Are you
No, I'm in Massachusetts now.
Massachusetts? Oh, I love New England. We'll come and
Yeah.
see you in Massachusetts.
There you go. There's
Yeah,
definitely
lot-
some stuff
lot of
there.
stuff up
To
here.
the Mount Washington Hotel in New Hampshire.
They're finding it. They're finding it on Prime, honey. And
Great.
we've got everybody's looking here. Thank you. Listen, throw some bacon up here for Mike and Steve. Steve, you're going to have Mike on your radio show this weekend. When will that be heard?
We're recording Wednesday. It'll air this coming Sunday at 9 p.m. Eastern.
Thanks again. Thanks again for having me on, guys.
Oh, it's my
Yeah.
pleasure. We couldn't wait to get you back on, and you have an open invitation. You know that, sweetie. Anytime, anytime. And again, please keep those in your thoughts. Who a lot of people are having a rough time right now. Remember what we always say about leaning on each other and try to keep our lights bright. If your candle goes out, just lean into somebody who's still got a flame, baby, and just relight that light. We got to keep the lights on. We stay positive. We can learn so much from what the dead are dying to tell us, and just remember that we're all people, and we don't know what's going on in each other's days. So take a deep breath before you react. Try not to be emotional about stuff and just stay on the surface and keep your lights on. I love you both. Thank you so much for being here tonight. Thanks for everybody in the chat. Thanks to all the mods. Thanks for everybody coming in and listening tonight. Give it a like. Put a comment on the video after, and I appreciate you. We'll see you next week, guys. I love you. Thank you for being here. This
Bye,
was
guys.
wonderful.
Good night, everybody.
Good evening.
Good night, and I hope my hand will be better next time. I can wave without hurting. Good night, everybody.